Hi guys, in today's video I'd really love to talk about law of attraction. It's something I briefly mentioned in my video about money, I believe, how to track money. If you haven't seen it, I'll put the link somewhere down in the description box. But basically in that video I said that I experienced law of attraction several times in my life, which made me a great believer. So I promised to you to make a video all about law of attraction, what I think of it, and my experience with it. So that's what we're going to talk about in today's video, and let's get started. So I haven't always been a believer, like a formal believer in the law of attraction. I only started reading books about law of attraction quite recently, just a few years ago, but I always instinctively knew that it existed, and I instinctively thought positive thoughts, and I always felt that anything was possible. At some point I lost it. I stopped believing in it. I stopped believing in myself and in my abilities to get what I wanted in my life. However, recently I again started developing myself. I started reading books. I started reading Doing the Miracle Morning, which really reminded me about the law of attraction and positive thinking, and so I'm full force into law of attraction again, and I'm super happy about that, because the fact is that law of attraction has brought some of the most amazing miracles into my life, and I just really want to share them with you, perhaps to inspire you and to prove to you that law of attraction really works, even if you might not know what it is, even if you might not know the title, but it still works in everybody's life. So when I was in high school, it was a high school that was extremely advanced in mathematics and computer science. So geometry, algebra, things like that were extremely advanced at the level of universities, and we were supposed to be really good at math. And I generally was very good at math. That's how I got into the school. But when I was there, for some reason, I think because I was surrounded by really smart people and the teachers expected so much from us, I kind of lost confidence in myself and my abilities. And I stopped believing that I could have good marks and that I could be successful. So every time we're having some kind of an algebra or geometry, especially geometry test, I was getting into this super anxious panic mode, and I was getting mind blanks. So my mind was going totally blank to the point where I had forgotten everything that I had learned. I had no idea how to solve problems. I just couldn't do anything, and I was just sitting there panicking, knowing that I wasn't going to pass it. It was just a horrible experience. So in my country we had marks from 1 to 10, with 1 being the worst one and 10 being the top mark, and I ended up having 5 out of 10, which is really bad. I was pretty much the only one in the whole school with this kind of mark. And at one point the teacher also told me in front of the whole class, and I was so ashamed of myself, that perhaps I came to the wrong school, and that didn't help my confidence at all. And then my parents sent me to so many different private tutors to try and help me, because they thought that it was all just because of my lack of knowledge, but it wasn't because of that. And so no matter to how many teachers I went, things didn't get better, because the problem was not my knowledge. I knew everything. The problem was my mind. I was getting mind blanks, and I had to work on my mind to fix it. So in the end, what happened is that I understood it was all in my mind. I understood that I knew everything, but the problem was that I did not believe in myself. So I started to work on my mind, and I started using affirmations to continue to tell myself that I knew what I was doing. I knew everything. I was confident. I was going to pass it. I was going to get great marks. And I started visualizing the actual math test and how I was passing it, how I was solving all the problems, and everything was going great. And after a couple of weeks of working on my mind like this, I started getting 10s. And I became the star of the school, because I went from 5 out of 10 to 10 out of 10 within a month. And then afterwards I always had 10 out of 10. And lots of different kids from the whole school were coming to my classroom and asking for me, because they wanted to see that miraculous girl who managed to go from 5 to 10. Like, I was on the verge of dropping out of school, and I went all the way to top marks. And for me, it was the first proof of the power of law of attraction. My second biggest meeting with law of attraction happened many years ago, actually a couple of years ago, when I already had my blog and my YouTube channel, and I was really struggling with money. I was really struggling with growing my blog and YouTube channel. and I struggled to believe that I could one day be successful. It was still kind of like a temporary adventure for me, which I didn't know if I was ever going to be able to turn into a job. And then I started reading Tony Robbins' books, and they really inspired me, and I really started working on law of attraction and positive thinking and affirmations and things like that. So after around 2 weeks of active work with myself, I suddenly received an email, and it was an email from a New York Times reporter who was writing an article about the paleo lifestyle, and he wanted to interview me. From New York Times, I could not believe it, and it literally took just 2 weeks of active work with my mind, visualizing affirmations and so on and so forth, and I got featured on the New York Times. It was mind-blowing. It was such a clear sign that the law of attraction really works. And then at the same time, I got another brush with law of attraction. So I really wanted to get a proper DSLR camera for my channel to raise the quality of my videos, because every time I earn a little bit of money, I reinvest it into my channel because I want it to be better and better. But I needed around just over 500 euros for that, and I honestly didn't have the money. And I was trying to sell the camera I had at that time, which was a micro four thirds camera, and honestly it wasn't very good. I couldn't change the lens, I couldn't use an external microphone, it was rubbish. But it wasn't selling. I was selling it, but it wasn't selling. So I didn't have very high hopes, because obviously I couldn't afford the new one without selling the old one. And even if I did, I was still short of money. And then the New York Times things happened. It sent me a crazy amount of traffic to my blog, which means that I earned much more money. And at the same time, I also sold the camera that I was trying to sell. So I actually ended up having enough money for that new camera. And it all happened literally a week after I went into a camera store. And I took that camera, I put my hands on it, I closed my eyes, and I totally visualized myself owning that camera, working with it, touching it, taking pictures, recording videos. I did it on purpose because I knew that just touching it is what's going to make it so much more real for me. And it was so powerful because I went to the shop, I touched it, I visualized it, and within a few days I had the real camera in my hands. It was so incredibly powerful. Then there was another brush with the law of attraction in my life. Before coming to live here in Tenerife, my husband and I spent a year and 3 months in my country, Lithuania, and we stayed with my parents, which was really depressing for us because obviously when you're a grown-up and after you lived alone for quite a while, it's so difficult to get back to live with your parents in the same house. It was really, really stressful for us, even though my parents were amazing and they really tried to make us happy, but we were so miserable in any case. And I lost all my savings with my stupid business decisions, and going to live in Tenerife seemed like a distant dream, which wasn't going to happen. But then I decided to print a satellite image of Tenerife Island, and I put it right in front of my desk. So every day when I was working, if I had a moment of weakness, of depression or low mood, I could just lift my head, see that island, and remember why I was doing what I was doing. And I also started listening to the radio from Tenerife online all the time. So I literally surrounded myself with the atmosphere of Tenerife to make it as real for myself as possible. And within a month or two, I got this amazing business opportunity, which allowed me to earn enough money to move to Tenerife. Literally within a few months, it all became possible, and I believe it's very much because of that radio and that image of Tenerife that made it all very real in my mind, and then my mind made it a reality. And then the last final brush with law of attraction happened just now, literally a couple of days ago. So we have a vision board, well, not exactly a vision board, but I have a very detailed life vision. It's actually a 2-page document where I wrote everything I want in my life, with all the details. And I wrote there that I wanted a certain car. I mean, my husband and I wanted a certain car. Our plan was to maybe one day in a few years to go to Italy, buy it there and bring it back here, because it was just pretty impossible to find it here just the way we wanted, because it's an Italian car and it's quite a rare car. So that was the long-term plan, but it would have cost us lots of money, and so we didn't know if we would ever make it happen and when we would make it happen. But a couple of weeks ago, our old car just broke down irreparably. It was too expensive to fix, so we had to scrap it. And we ended up needing a new car because living on this island without a car, it's impossible. So we started looking for a car, and it was depressing. There was nothing on the market. And then we found our dream car. Exactly the one we wanted to get from Italy. And it was right here on the island, we didn't have to go anywhere, and it was in a perfect state. It was like new, literally. It's 13 years old, but outside and inside it's like new. It's perfect, it's more than anything we ever wanted. So we ended up buying that car 2 days ago, now it's ours. And just a week ago it was on my vision board, and now it's a reality. And all just because I was visualizing it every single morning together with everything else I want in my life. So to me, law of attraction totally works. Everything is just energy. Your body's energy, your thoughts are energy, the whole world is energy, and your thoughts make reality. So if in your thoughts you make something real, that energy will be so powerful that it will attract all those things, feelings, experiences, people, or whatever it is into your life. It totally works. And also, if you want me to make a video about how to use law of attraction, then I will definitely do it as well, because I think I have quite a bit to say about this topic. So let me know if you're interested. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.